Hey guys, welcome to the BP Gaming Network. We are playing Out of the Park Baseball 19, featuring our Oakland Athletics franchise 2018 season. We are now in June, which means that our first year player draft is upon us, and we're gonna showcase the draft in this video. Quick recap on how things have gone so far for the team. Oakland has been struggling basically in every category. We'll show you guys kind of where the team stands at the moment. So as you saw in this last screen here, in our standings, we're currently last in the American League West Division. We are behind Seattle with a 22-38 win and loss record, which is way far from what our ambitions were. We were hoping to at least play around 500 ball, but we're not. The leader of our division is the Astros with a 40-21 record, followed by the Angels with a 32-29 record, and then Texas in the number 3 spot, and Seattle just above Oakland there with a 29-30 record. So not doing really good. But here's some guys who are performing well for the team so far. Offensively, you can see here batting leaders. We've got Chris Davis leading in a few categories. He's got a decent batting average so far into the season, 306. Then we've got Jet Lowry there with a 255 batting average, and then Matt Joyce with a 254. Just from looking at that, I mean, these are based on qualifying stats. So the players who appear in our leaderboards usually have a minimum plate appearance or at bats, and that shows you the guys who played the most for us have not performed well offensively. If you look at the batting averages, that just kind of gives you a hint. Chris Davis also leads the team in home runs. You can see there he's got his 14 home runs so far, and that's about it. He's been the bright spot for our offense throughout the beginning half of this season, and we're hoping he continues, but we want to see other guys contribute and hopefully try to get us out of this funk that we've been in. Pitching wise, though, we've had a few surprises this year. I mean, I would not have picked Chris Bassett and Andrew Triggs to be the guys leading our pitching rotation, but here we are. Chris Bassett is leading our team in earned run average. He's got a 2.97 earned run average. He's played in 11 games. His win and loss record is 5-4. Pitched in 66 and 2/3 innings. So to get that outstanding ERA of 2.97, so extremely outperformed what I expected out of Chris Bassett, but he has the capabilities, so I'm not overly surprised. The other guy is Andrew Triggs. Andrew Triggs has really improved a lot and pitched really well for us. I mean, he's already a good pitcher. As you can see, in 2017, his ERA was 4.27 in just about the same number of innings pitched. But this year, he's got a 3.77 ERA in 62 innings pitched. Win-loss record 4-3, so really surprised me and pitching really well. Hope that continues. We've got Sean Manai, the guy that we highlighted at the beginning of the season as our ace, given the assets we had in pitching. He's struggled a bit, but still pitching a little bit better than he did in 2017. But we expect a lot more from him, given his talent, his abilities, his stuff. So we're hoping we'll see a better Sean Manai as the season progresses. The three of them will continue to basically lead in all the pitching categories. You can see wins, Chris Bassett, followed by the other two, and then strikeouts, Sean Manai, and innings pitched, also Sean Manai. So we're not doing really well. If we move on to the overall stats, you could see here for batting stats, we are last in almost every category. Our batting average is 235. So team batting average, which is good for 13th in the American League. That's pathetic. Not really good. On base, I mean, not faring any better. So we're struggling in every area in our offense. Pitching wise, it's not any better. You can see our team unrun average is 4.78 in the American League. Our status ERA is 4.81. The bullpen ERA is 4.73. So we are in a not enviable position, but I welcome the challenge, and we'll continue to move things around and shift things around and see how we can improve this team. Overall, this is where we're at. We are bottom third from the league standings. Really the only two teams we're playing better than is Chicago and Kansas City. And you can see how the National League pans out so far. So that's where things are at. There's been a few, I'd say maybe positive signs so far. I can tell you, for example, we just recently traded for Brian Johnson, brought him into our pitching staff. Brian Johnson was traded from the Boston Red Sox. We gave up Jonathan Lucroy, who was playing really well for us, but with the amount of money we were paying him, we could have afforded to lose such a great catcher in order to obtain two guys that we thought were helpful for us. So we managed to bring in Christian Vasquez. You can see Vasquez is an outstanding pitcher. Catcher. If we take a look at his ratings, this is what I look for in a catcher. You see the catcher 70. That's elite status there, and his catching ability 70. So as a catcher, I think we were able to get an equally outstanding catcher for a smaller price. I know we've got a long-term contract with him, 5 years, that was signed, I believe, in 2017, and we're paying him 1.4 million this year, and then 2.8 next year, and then 4.2 after that. So we'll see where we're at as we get into 2020 and 2021. But I think this is a good trade for us. So we got a decent pitcher and a decent starting pitcher in Brian Johnson, who so far, if we take a look at his pitching stats for Oakland, let's take a look. So he's let's see, not yet had a game for Oakland, and but he is scheduled to start the upcoming game, I believe. Yeah, he's the man for the next game, where we'll be playing Texas, and so that will be an exciting game to see how Brian Johnson pitches in that game. Other bright spots, we've got a few young guys that we've called up from AAA that are doing well for us. Lou Trevino has been an exciting piece. We called him up early in the year, and boy, he's really shown his talent and ability. So I'm very excited about Lou. Daniel Gossett is another guy who we've had in our system for a long time. He's already pitched for us in 2017 and didn't do really well, and we've called him up. He's doing well. He's pitched in 2 innings, and his ERA is 4.50, so just around league average. But we expect that he'll continue to improve. Some disappointments have been Trevor Cahill. We had a lot of hopes for Trevor in the beginning. Kendall Graveman has been a disappointment. So Kendall Graveman has been up and down between the majors and our AAA team. So we'll see how that continues to improve. And then for our starting lineup offensively, Dustin Fowler has played well in center field. Jet Lowry there, he's a veteran for us. We're expecting a lot more from him. He's starting to improve. And then we got our leader there, Chris Davis. Matt Olson has been a disappointment. We know he can do better. We're expecting a lot more from him, especially with his power. He just hasn't shown up. Renato Nunez is another young, exciting guy that's come up from our AAA team, and really played really well. He's brought in power. You can see he's got 7 home runs there, so he's third in our home run leaderboard. So we're very excited about him. Matt Joyce, another veteran, he's playing DH at the moment for us, and he's doing all right as well. Steven Piscotty, his batting average not great, but he's produced some home runs, which we're excited about. And we're hoping he'll continue to improve. Marcus Simeon has been a disappointment so far, but we're hoping again to see a better outing from him going forward, just because he's a veteran. He's been through this, and he's started to improve a little bit towards the end of May. And then there's our new catcher, Christian Vasquez. We're excited to have him in the lineup as well. So that's where we're at. Now we will go ahead and advance the day and go straight into June 5th. So here we are. The first player draft is upon us. Now, I should mention that if there's one area of this game that I hope would improve a little bit, would be how we interact with our scouting staff. I would like to see a few more scouts, and I would like to see the scouts go out and maybe through either the manager assigning a few players from our draft pool for them to scout and then give us a recommendation. Maybe have the chief scout come up with a recommendation of maybe the top 3 or top 5 players we should anticipate and try to draft. But the way it's set up right now, it's not very exciting. But then again, when it comes to the draft, baseball is a little bit of a different beast when it comes to the draft. The draft for baseball is not as exciting as it is for other sports. Basketball, football. You draft a guy and he's literally a starter next season, which doesn't happen in baseball. You can draft a good player in football and he starts for you in the next season. And that's fine and that's exciting. So hence, you put a lot of emphasis on your draft. I mean, the draft is important, even in MLB. The difference is that you draft guys with the idea that their potential will mature into something. And so when you draft them, they go into a minor league system, and they have to, at the very minimum, those who are exceptionally good, maybe they'll spend 3 to 4 years in the minor leagues. But your average player who goes through every level of the system, I would probably say 5 to 6 years before you ever see him show up to play for the major league team. So that's just the way it is. We recruit guys at a young age and then develop them over time. So when you're drafting, you're essentially looking for guys with decent potential ratings, not necessarily current ratings, because you're judging them at their current age. So you look for tools, you look for ratings, such as raw talent, and then you look for your scouting opinion as far as the person's potential to develop into a good player. So that's all you can do, and then you watch them go through your system. So we'll get started and see how we do in this draft. We are selecting 9th in the first round, and that's an exciting position to be at. Maybe I should have prepared a little bit better as well. I should have gone through the draft pool and sifted through and maybe highlighted a few guys that I should have as my top 3. I normally do that. I didn't do that so far in this save, so I kind of dropped the ball there and had to be honest. So, but nonetheless, we could still, given that we're selecting a 9th, we can still sift through the draft pool and try to pick out guys with very decent potential. And we hope that we're making the right decision. So what I do, my strategy essentially is for the first 3 picks, especially for a team like ours, I will usually look for a few elite starting pitchers. maybe 2 starting pitchers, and the third pick I try to go for maybe a decent position player. And then from there, I try to listen to my scouting director and go with his recommendations. But for the first 3 picks, I tend to evaluate the players myself. And sometimes I go as far as the first 5 picks. There's a lot of rounds in baseball. So, you know, there's, I believe, 35 rounds. So it's hard to sit there. I mean, you could, and maybe you should, but you should also trust your scouts, right? That's why you hire a scout, and that's why you find a good scout to be able to evaluate talent for you and tell you which guys you should select. So we will auto draft until the next pick, which is the next Oakland pick. So it is our turn now to pick. And the last selection was Atlanta Braves. They picked a starting pitcher, Brady Singer. You can see his potential is fairly decent. So I'm already in that screen. So what I do is I filter out and I go all pitchers, and then I filter out by, you know, potential ratings. One of the challenge also becomes, do you want to select a high school player, or do you want to select a college player? So the guys who are sort of at the college level will be in their 20s, and then you've got your high school players, guys coming out of high school, will be in you know 18, 19 year range. The star that you see here means that the player is coming out of high school. So the first guy with the highest potential ratings here is Jonathan Childress. So I'm going to take a look at this guy, and you know, you don't want to just automatically get fooled by looking at the stars. This is just the best possible evaluation of the overall league for this pitcher. He may end up being a dud. So this doesn't guarantee you that this guy is going to be a stud. You just have to be realistic about things, right? So what I do is I'm selecting a pitcher, and I want a starting pitcher. So I'm going to go and take a look at his ratings. This is where you get to look at his raw stuff, right? First thing I want to see is what kind of pitches does he currently have naturally. So he's got a fastball, curveball, and a change. Outstanding 3 pitches to start with. Right now, his fastball is currently rated as an average fastball that can eventually develop into above average. He's got a curveball that currently is below average, way below average, but eventually can get into an elite curve. And then he's got a changeup that's below average, but can eventually develop into a slightly above average curve. He's got decent stamina. I would have liked to see a little bit higher stamina, but that's where they've got him right now, 55. His ability to hold runners is just above average, so not too bad. His velocity, another thing that I really focus on. He's got a normal arm, so his pitching type is a normal throwing angle or position. His velocity right now ranges between 90 and 92 miles per hour. So that's most likely his curveball. It can get up to about 92 miles per hour. That's about league average. His stuff, you know, now we get to the nitty gritty. Currently well below average, but it can get up to well above average into elite level stuff. So that's something that catches my eye. His movement can get, currently is below average. It can get up to above average, or just average. 55 is average. 50 to 55 to 60, that's average. 60 and above, that's slightly above average. 65 to 70, that's above average or well above average. And then anything over 75 is well above. Anything over 70 is well above average, and everything over 75 to me is playing around in the elite level leagues stage. Control, his control will eventually max out at just below average. So something to keep in mind there. And then what I do is, so we've got a good idea. He's coming out of high school. You know, to me, this is a guy who could end up being an average pitcher. Let's take a look at his personality here. So we didn't scout this guy. We don't have his personality showing at the moment, and that could be maybe because of the way I've set up my league. I'm not sure if I set it up to show his full personality ratings. Currently, they've described him as, Childress will eventually harness his energy and improve his knowledge of the game. What else can I see from this guy? Right now, this is the scouting report that we have on him. He's a 220 pounds, 6'3" starting pitcher. So he's a big guy. From Texas, projects to have a 3-pitch arsenal, which includes an outstanding curve, a plus changeup, and a plus fastball. He also has elite stuff, and he can be seen as somebody who could be at the top of the starting rotation. So my scout seems to think highly of this guy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at another guy. Riley Thompson, just based on his potential. Let's take a look at him. Let's go into his ratings first. So also another guy with a 3-pitch arsenal at the moment. His fastball is currently average. It can get to slightly above average, so a plus average. In the future, his curveball is currently average, and it can get up to elite. His changeup is currently below average, and it can get up to plus average in the future. His velocity can get from 92 to 94 miles per hour. He's got a normal arm. His stamina, though, his stamina suggestion is for a bullpen level. You can see he doesn't have the ability to be a starting pitcher at the moment. And he's not pegged to be one in the future. I don't know if my first pick should be a relief pitcher, and signability for Oakland shows extremely hard. So this is a guy who may demand too much, or maybe impossible to sign, and that's something you should keep in mind. So although he looks pretty good, I'm probably gonna skip on him and take a look at another guy. I see a starting pitcher here in Brandon Birdsell. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Going to the ratings. So he's got a 4-pitch arsenal, which is outstanding at this age. His curve fastball is currently below average. Can get up to plus average in the future. His curveball can also get to plus average in the future. His slider can get to plus average. And then he's got a changeup that will eventually max out at average. So pretty decent for a guy with a 4-pitch arsenal. He's pegged currently as a bullpen future starter. His velocity pegged at 92 to 94. His stamina is above average, so that's pretty decent. This is definitely a starting pitcher. His stuff currently well below average, and it can eventually get to plus average. His movement below average, but can get to average in the future, and his control could max out somewhere near below average in the future. No other ratings stick out. He may be able to pitch better against righties, but that could be because he's a right-handed pitcher, so not a huge surprise there. He's a below average pitcher current rating at the moment. Let's take a look at the scouting report. Birdsell is a 6'3", 205-pound pitcher from Texas. Projects to have a 4-pitch repertoire. He should end up near the top of any major league rotation. So again, our scout seems to think highly of this guy. That's about it. What else can I see about him? So he's extremely hard for us to sign. That's kind of how they've got him pegged out. I've got a good feeling about this guy. and and a good feeling about Jonathan. Now we have a better chance of recruiting Jonathan, and when I compare him to Brandon, I would say probably, considering that the ability to sign him is normal for us, this would be a pick that I'm probably going to make, and we're going to select him. So let's take a look at a few other things here. So these are the other things that you want to look for. Personality and morale. So you typically want to recruit guys that have fairly decent work ethic and a fairly decent intelligence. When I filter it that way, let's see what happened to my guy here. Where's Jonathan? Alright, so when I did that, I kind of lost Jonathan here. I believe his first name was Jonathan. Jonathan. So there he is, Jonathan Childress. So I wanted to filter this out so I can bring him up and take a look at his work ethic and intelligence. He's currently, they've got him as a normal work ethic and normal intelligence. But there's somebody who just showed up here, Jonathan Hughes, who has a high work ethic. Now, there's debates on the forums as to how much, those personality traits have an impact to development. Some guys don't think they matter much, others do. But when you read the manual Out of the Park Baseball, you should consider those ratings. You do want guys who have a good work ethic and a good level of intelligence. That does help and aid in the development. So when I look at a guy like this, he's got a high work ethic, but I'm thinking, what other tools does he have to excite me? He's actually not bad. His stuff is not projected to really end up really that high. So, do I trust my scout on this one? I think I'm going to. And I think we are going to pick Jonathan Childress. All right, so what we're going to do is clear that filter. And then we're going to go back to the default rating. Change the filter to highest potential, and we're going to recruit Jonathan Childress. So his recommended slot is 2 million, at least 2.1 or 2.2 depending on how you look at that. We do have 10 million in the bank. I'm going to offer him a slot, and there we go. So we've selected Jonathan. We're going to auto draft again until it's our turn. All right, so money wise we've got 8.3 million left. So again, we're going to take a look at guys with high potential, and as I take a look at this, I come across Kyle Bradish. Go into the ratings, 3-pitch repertoire. All the 3 pitches can eventually get into plus category. Let's take a look at his stuff. His stuff can eventually get into plus territory. His movement could end up at just average, and so will his control. He's a right-handed starting pitcher. Nothing else really sticks out about him. So we've got Kyle there. We've looked at Kyle. Let's see. Who else has that something special? Riley Thompson, somebody else who's got very high ratings. And the question is that just a lot of hype, or is there something in him? Let's see, ratings. So we already looked at Riley. He's definitely never going to develop into a starting pitcher. That doesn't mean that we can't select a relief pitcher, but it wouldn't be something I want to, it wouldn't be what I want to do with my top picks, especially when I'm going to have to shell out some money to pay a slot fee. So I'm still looking for just another good starting pitcher. And so what I'm going to do is, we've got all pitchers. I'm going to change this to starters. And then what we're going to do is check out the personalities. And we're going to try to filter and see if we can get guys with very high work ethic. And let's see who we got. So we've got Tyler Holton, who had to go back into the draft. All right. See, we've got Blake Workman. Let's take a look at his rating. So, see his stuff. Not projected to really end up very high. He's got a 3-pitch repertoire that could eventually end up as average or above average in all categories. Decent stamina. Potential is a 2-star, but he's got very high work ethic. Let's take a look at guys with maybe high intelligence, see who we get at the top. So we've got 22-year-old Andrew Owen. He's not projected really to have a high potential. All right. There's John Henry Styles. Let's take a look at his ratings. So he's 22 years old. He's out of college, Stanford. His stuff, nothing electric. His velocity is projected to be somewhere between 86 and 88. He's got a 4-pitch arsenal, which is fairly good and decent. I like that. 1.5-star rating. Let's keep going. Let's see if we can get a good combination of a guy with a high potential and also a high intelligence or high work ethic. So we'll keep looking. So now we've got, okay, so the last guy, all right, let's look at guys with high work ethic. We got Owen White. He's got a 2-star potential. His signability is impossible, so I'm gonna skip him. And let's filter it from here. About Austin Elliott. Austin Elliott looks like one of those two-way players, the guys who can play, position players and also can pitch. Let's take a look at his ratings. Future starter. His fastball can get to above average in the future. Curveball slightly above average in the future, and a change that can get an average in the future. He can play in right field and also pitch and also left field. His stuff could get just to about average in the future. Movement below average, and he may have very good control in the future. Austin Elliott would be an easy pick for us, but the question is he a second rounder? Right? Remember, this is who was that? Hunter Bowling. All right, Hunter Bowling, you could be a good surprising pick for us. Let's take a look at you. 3-pitch repertoire. As far as future potential, fastball can get to plus average. Curveball can get to plus average, and a plus average changeup in the future. So that's not bad. Stamina is, future starter, no question about it. His stuff can get to slightly above average in the future. His movement can get average and an average control in the future. All right. 21 years old. Out of college. Maybe extremely hard to select him, but as a second pick, we got money that we could use on him. So Hunter Bowling could be my pick. But first, let's take a look at what our scouting director recommends. So our scouting director recommends Riley Thompson. Remember, we looked at Riley Thompson. He's a highly touted relief pitcher. I mean, his velocity 92 to 94. So that's a conundrum. My scout really seems to think that we should pick Riley. I'm currently of the opinion that we should pick Hunter Bowling just because he's got very high work ethic. Not a very loyal guy, but that's Hunter. 64,000 recommended slot on Riley. You know what? We're gonna go with our gut instinct on this one, and we're gonna go with Hunter. Go with Hunter Bowling. Yeah, we're gonna offer him the slot. As I said, the first 3 picks I tend to evaluate the players myself and go based on my I'm relying on also the suggestions here from my scouting staff, but I'm gonna trust myself more, and then after that we will rely on the scouting director to help us pick the remaining players. So this is our pick 3, and we've got 7,720,000 left. So now we're gonna filter this back out into default mode, go with highest potential, and Riley is still there. Now, could I pick 3 pitchers in a row? This is where you go back to your team and take a look at where do you have the biggest need. And if you ask me, we have a huge need in second base. And so I strongly feel that a second baseman would be a position that I would love to really recruit. Let's see what my scouting director still thinks. So my scouting director still thinks that I should go with Riley, and because of his tools and highly rated, I am going to offer a slot to Riley. I'm going to listen to my scouting director. And now we've moved on to the 4th round. And I'm still filtered. So the top second baseman I was looking at was selected. And maybe I should have picked him, but that's okay. So let's take a look at Louis Tuero. He can play 2 positions, second base and shortstop. His ratings, he's got a decent infield range and decent infield error rating. Turning double play above average. He's very athletic. He's got decent speed. Good ability to steal and run the bases. He can also bunt for us. Let's see his contact. So he is projected to end up as average in contact. He's not going to have a lot of gap power. He'll have some power though, about just above average power, slightly above average eye, and slightly above average ability to avoid strikeouts. So this could be a decent pick for me. And so we've got Louis Tuero. Let's take a look at Addison Barger. Excuse me, I may not know how to pronounce that name. So go in and take a look at his ratings. Another guy who can play 2 positions, short and second base. He's also athletic. He can run the bases. Doesn't have the greatest speed compared to Louis. His ability, his infield range is decent, and just average infield error. He is projected to have an average contact, average gap power, average power overall, slightly less than average eye, and well above average ability to avoid strikeouts. He can also bunt and get sacrifice bunts. Our ability to pick him, to sign him, is fairly easy. So that's a conundrum now. I got two decent guys. Why don't I ask my scout to see who he thinks we should go with? And so he's suggesting another starting pitcher in Lucas Corral. Lucas, may have missed him. Future starter, got a curveball, fastball, and a changeup. His fastball and curve can mature into some decent pitches. His stuff, he's got a future plus average stuff. He's got future average movement and just average control. His pitching rating at 60, which is above average. And signability is hard. So we've been having guys who are extra hard as far as signability. So I am going to offer this guy a slot, and that could be it for my pitching. Maybe not it, but Louis is still there as a shortstop. Burge is gone, so I'm gonna offer Louis a spot. And now we're gonna see what my scout thinks about the rest of the guys. He's still suggesting that we make offers to these guys. Recommended to give this guy a slot, so I'm gonna go with that. Let's continue to see what my scout thinks. He thinks we should get a center fielder. Let's take a look at Zach Watson. What's so good about him? So Watson is an extremely athletic center fielder. He's got very good ratings as far as his outfield range and outfield error. He's got a normal outfield arm. He can also play second base. So Zach Watson may not be a bad pick. His contact future projection is just above average. He's got a decent ability to hit for gap. in the future. He won't have any power. Decent eye, and just an average ability to avoid strikeouts. So I probably would go with this guy just because he can also play second base and he can also play the outfield. So I'm gonna draft him. So we've got a suggestion here to also pick a starting pitcher, Keaton. So I won't focus too much on going into their ratings as much as I did before. Potential is good. Could eventually end up with average stuff, average movement, and above average control. His fastball can get above average, curveball that can get well above average, and an above average changeup. Why not? You'll end up typically selecting more pitchers than you will any other position. We do need catchers in our league, and Rudy Rott is being recommended here by our scouting director, and I'm going to go with that. Another starting pitcher being recommended here by our scouting director. You know what? He does have decent ratings. Just quickly looking at that. Another shortstop being suggested here, David Yanni. Decent potential. Just average ratings all across the board. Hard ability to sign. And I think I will go with him. So as you can notice, you know, like I said, we've got 35 rounds, and we're not gonna go in depth on every single pick we make. We're gonna trust our scout. Another catcher, I agree. We do need more catchers. Another starting pitcher there. Shortstop, yep. Another starting pitcher. Center field. Catcher. So, you know, as you're picking, you look at these numbers here as well. They show you they do a good job of showing you what your organization looks like. All the different players you have in different positions throughout your organization. So we're currently short in catchers, first base and second base, and third base. So I've got a few rounds still left. So I'm going to get another catcher. And then I'm going to turn around and start forcing selections for other positions. So he's recommending a starting pitcher. I'm thinking now I want to look at maybe third baseman, guys who can play third base. And take a look at the highest potentials. We've got, you know, Angel Camacho. You know, yeah, decent infield. I always look at that because third base, second base, I mean, overall, your entire infield and outfield, actually, you should always look for those types of ratings, not just contact and power. You know, a lot of guys focus on that, but I want guys who can come in and actually be good defensively in their actual position. So that's important to me. So we're gonna select some natural second basemen as well. First, let's see what our scout recommends. He's recommending a second fielder, center fielder. Sorry. And I'm suggesting that we take a look at some. So this is a starting pitcher who can also play the infield. He's out of high school and pitched well in high school. Let's take a look at both his ratings. So as an infielder, he's okay, and he's also okay as an outfielder. Decent arm on both infield and outfield. He's athletic, right? You can see he's got good ability to run bases and steal. His batting abilities, he may not have a lot of power in the future. May end up just below average or average in most other areas or categories. As a pitcher, though, his stuff and movement and control will always be below average. He could be a future starting pitcher because of his stamina. His ability to hold runners is not too bad. And his pitching repertoire is not that bad. So this is a guy who can play second, short, and center. He's a two-way player, and it's exciting to get these two-way players nowadays. So I might actually go with him, because if he doesn't prove to be a good pitcher, I can convert him into an infielder. Oops, sorry, I'm supposed to say draft this guy. All right, so here we are. Another starting pitcher being recommended. I'm gonna go with that. Scouting director really likes outfielders. I'm gonna go with another second baseman. And let's take a look at Jake Shepsky. So Jake can play both second and short. He's very average as far as his athleticism. Infield, not the greatest arm, but he's got good range in infield. So for a second baseman, his contact can develop into average contact in the future. He won't have a lot of gap power, but he could get some power in the future for a little bit of power in the future, maybe for home runs. He's got a below average eye and below average ability to avoid strikeouts. So I'm gonna go with Jake. We're able to recruit him because his sign ability is normal, so we can draft him. Our scout is still recommending some more starting pitchers, and I'm gonna have to go maybe with a first base. So as a first baseman, and he can also is a just above average catcher's arm, above average infield arm, and his ability batting tools are not crazy bad. Can develop into average level stuff in the future. And you know, the thing is, a lot of players will eventually, whether you like it or not, end up with just about average abilities, and that's all right. Let's see if we filter it this way. Ripken Reyes. Play second. Not the greatest ability as far as the tools, potentials. Well, sorry for the silence there, guys. It's a lot of strategizing and thinking here. Okay, let's just focus on potential for now still. Grant, he has ability to play short and second. But we were looking at the first baseman. There's some guys with power. That would be something so let's take a look and see. Instead of default ratings, let's go into batting ratings, and then let's filter this out into power, and we get Chase Goldwater. Not projected to have a high ceiling as far as his potential in the future, but we are now into the 20th rounds. it's time to look for other tools or abilities. You know, this guy can have killer power in the future, and that's something that you know, you want to add to your organization. You want guys that do have power in the future. So let's see, when you filter it by power, and then we go overall. Oh, Justin Olson. Okay, maybe hard to sign him. He can play a few positions. He can also play first base and outfield. His power can grade out to about slightly over average in the future. You know, why not? Why not? Justin Olson. It could be somebody I might want to pick. All right, let's progress on. Scouting director, what do you suggest? Grant Cox. So I'd looked at Grant earlier, so I agree with my scouting director. Now may be the time to select him. Another starting pitcher there. A reliever. Another starting pitcher. What's with the obsession with catchers? But hey, you gotta fill up your organization with position players. So sometimes you find an organization is too short on particular positions. And that's because you end up recruiting, you know, just the same type of guys all across the board. And you never divert. So Grant Ashline, I'm gonna pick him. Charlie Cody. Oh wait, Brooks is a pitcher, but Charlie can play third base and also the outfield. No, before I want Charlie. Auto draft. Keep selecting. Reliever. Auto draft. I need a position player here. No, I'm gonna go with another second baseman. And Luke Alexander might fill that role. Okay, now we'll take a reliever. He's recommending another catcher, and I say, let's take a look at left fielders. Yep. Still recommending a catcher. I'm looking at my organization and I'm saying I still need second baseman. So that's it. That's it, guys. The draft has come to an end, and you know, we hope we've made the right decision with our selections. There's no way of knowing until after a few years have gone by. This is a draft video. It was long. There's really not much else to it other than to you know, look at a few areas, ratings, consider what you need for your organization, not necessarily for your first team, which is your major league team, but look through your entire organization As you can see, you've got a whole bunch of teams that you need to staff and develop. You don't want to find yourself short of any particular position, especially in your minor league system. You want to be balanced. But I think we've done a good job of balancing it out. Naturally, we'll always end up with more pitchers selected than any other position, but you also want to forcibly make an effort to select position players, especially in areas that you're weak at. And once you do that, we haven't fully brought all of them into our teams yet. We've got a few guys. These are the big guys that we selected and offered money. So we're gonna, as we proceed on, we'll see if we'll end up recruiting and signing all of them. Some may refuse to sign with us, but right now, nothing we can do. We've already made them an offer. They will think about it as the weeks go on, and we'll negotiate where we need to. I allowed some money left over for drafting and for such negotiations, so we'll see what we can do and if we can get those guys. But you can go into your organization after such an event and then take a look and see how things have changed ranking wise or overall in your organization. You could see our starting pitcher rankings within our organization has improved together with our relief pitching. We're now 12th and 15th. This is overall compared to the league. We were first as far as shortstops within our organization in comparison to the league. So the areas that were still weak is catching, second base, and center field, and also left field. So positioning for the future. So thanks a lot, guys, for being with us in that video. And I know it was long, and you may find some areas just a bit of a blank space where I'm quiet and thinking, but unfortunately that's just the way it is when you're doing a draft video. MLB has a lot of draft rounds, and hopefully you saw something there or that was informative in any way. Please drop us your lines, your comments, your feedback. Remember, this is a long-term save. We're hoping to improve the team in the long run, not just for this year. And so we'll see how those guys develop over the years. Thanks a lot for watching, and hope to see you on our next video.